Cool. So myth number 9, exercise burns a lot of calories, or sorry, burns a lot of fat. Exercise burns fuel. It burns a mix of fat, protein, and carbohydrate calories. So does sitting on your arse. Right now, you're burning calories. We burn calories all day, every day. We burn a mix of fat, protein, and carbs all the time. In fact, we burn the highest percentage of fat when we're resting versus when we're active. When we're active, our body leans more towards burning carbohydrate for fuel because it's more efficient. It's easier to burn that sugar into fuel for us than it is to burn fat. When we're at rest, our body uses a lot more fat. About 60-70% of our energy comes from fat. You sitting down right now, about 60% of your calories are being burned from fat. The problem is you're burning very few calories right now. So that's where the kind of the whole kind of it's kind of like these fat burning zone myths and stuff like that come into it. It's like, yes, we can burn higher percentage of the fat at lower heart rates, let's say, which is essentially what we're doing right now, but we're not burning a lot of calories. Your exercise calorie burn. So when you exercise, you burn more calories, you essentially increase your metabolism at that kind of moment for that exercise period. One of the things, though, is that, as I said, it's much less than we think it is. Any sort of Fitbit tracker type of thingy, calculator or whatever like that, telling us how many calories we're burning, heart rate monitors and stuff like that, they're all an overestimated guess. You know, again, this has been shown when you put people in those metabolic chambers and stuff like that, we burn much fewer calories than that. But also the other thing is that, let's say roughly for me, I burn roughly about 100 calories per hour. That's roughly what my metabolic rate is, my base metabolic rate. So when I'm at rest, I burn roughly 100 calories. So when I exercise, and let's say I do a training session and I burn 400 calories, well, I've really only burned 300 extra. Because if I sat in my arse, I would have burned 100 anyway. Does that make sense? So your calorie burn during exercise, you've got to minus what you would have burned sitting on your arse already again. So again, essentially it was just we don't burn a huge amount of calories / fat when we're exercising. That's not what exercise is for. Now, 1 kilo of body fat is worth about 7,700 calories. So again, in terms of how much exercise that is, if I burn 500 calories, that's 15 exercise sessions to try and burn 1 kilo of fat from exercise alone. And that's if all 500 calories from exercise came from fat, which we know they don't. They'll come from a mix of everything. So again, just using exercise or kind of saying, you know, I exercise a lot or whatever like that. It's not about burning calories. It's not why we should be exercising. Exercising is to build function, strength, balance, ability, fitness, etc. And then also to protect our muscles. As I said, one of the things with what exercise, especially when we do resistance exercises, what's so effective about it, it basically signals your body when it's trying to cannibalize its tissue, is to say, hey, keep the muscle tissue because we're using this for the exercise that we're doing, but you can take the fat. So exercise is a kind of a stimulus to hold on to the right healthy kind of tissue and tell the body and signal, say, hey, cannibalize the fat, but leave the muscle alone. Does that make sense? As I said, there's a huge amount of benefits, and obviously with the mental health benefits of exercise and that kind of thing as well. Going back to this metabolic chamber kind of thing that we were talking about. So this is again just one subject's 23 hours that they spent in the chamber, and this is essentially their calorie expenditure per minute in half-hour chunks, in half-hour blocks. So and again, this is the kind of most accurate way we can actually measure someone's metabolism. So when they're sitting at a computer, you know, like 1.5 to 2 calories per minute. When they're exercising on the bike, up to 6 calories per minute. But if you notice that they did 3 30-minute blocks during the day as part of this study, And every 30 minutes, the amount of calories that they burn during those 30 minutes dropped down. Again, this was an unconscious thing that happened because the body was getting tired. It had already exercised. It was like, I'm not going to give you as much on this next exercise session. We do another exercise set. I'm not going to give you as much of this exercise session. So again, it's not about this linear, I burn X amount during exercise and I'll always do this. It's very dependent on your body's metabolism will adapt and change and tweak things. And that's why over exercising or doing too much can actually be counterproductive. The other thing I want to show you is this person ended up burning 2,300 calories in a day. They thought they had a slow metabolism. They could have sworn, oh, I've got a slow metabolism. I only eat about 1,500 calories to 2,000 calories a day is what they thought they were eating. And yet when an actual metabolism was measured, it was higher than what they actually thought it was.